Hello, welcome to the Team SNG deck profile. This week, guys, we're going to be doing an FA deck profile. So we're going to be all about speed. While I've got your attention, I'd like to ask you guys to leave us a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel while you're here. Also, check out the team's Facebook page. Link to that will be down in the description below. If you really like this deck, check out the link to the test hands video, which will be coming out later this week. That link to that will be in the description below as soon as it's ready. Finally, one last bit of news. We do have a tournament coming up. 4 of the decks have already been selected. They will be Ancient Warrior, For Hire, Crawler level 9 Spam, and Metaphys. There are 4 remaining slots which you guys get to vote for. Link to the survey down below, which will let you go and vote for which decks you'd like to see represented. Alright, so talking about the FAs. FAs are really interesting because their whole thing about gaining speed by leveling up. And so a lot of the FA monsters have effects that state every time an FA Speller Trap is activated, this card gains a level. So that's sort of them gaining levels and speeding up. And they use this speed to activate special abilities. That's really all I can say about it, so let's get into it. Starting off with the monsters. The first monster we run is 3 copies of FA Navigator. FA Navigator is the level 1 tuner for the deck. It can decrease the speed of an FA card, returning it back to its normal level, if it's got an increased level, to special summon itself from either the hand or the graveyard. When it hits the field, you get to search the deck for an FA field spell, which you can then use to basically increase the level of whatever it is it decreased again. Next is FA Hang On Mach. Hang On Mach has the similar effect of all the other FA monsters, which is that every time an FA Speller Trap is activated, it gains a level. When it is level 7 or higher, it acts as a Dark Claw, turning off your opponent's access to the graveyard. Basically, everything on your opponent's side of the field will be banished when it goes to the grave, as long as this is level 7 or higher. Now, do notice its attack is 0. That doesn't really matter, because it will gain 300 attack for every level it has. So theoretically, once its effect is active, it should have 2100 or more attack. The next FA monster we run is 3 copies of FA Whip Crosser. Now this is the anti-hand trap FA. When he is level 7 or higher, he basically makes it so your opponent can't activate effects in the hand. Again, he has 0 attack, but he does gain 300 attack for every level that he has. The final FA monster we run is 1 copy of FA Dark Dragster. Now, FA Dark Dragster is really useful in the sense that it's already level 7. It can extend your plays by special summoning itself whenever you have a level 7 or higher FA monster on the field, and you can decrease its level by 3 to pop a card on your opponent's side of the field. So, it is a targeting pop though, so you do need to be aware of that. Also, again, just like all the other FAs, he gains 300 attack for every level he has. Now on to some of the stuff that's required to sort of give the deck the ability to turbo a bit. First, we run a Symphonic Engine with Symphonic Warrior Guitar. Symphonic Warrior Guitar, when activated as a pendulum, will let you discard a card to special summon another Symphonic Warrior from the deck to the field. On top of that, his monster effect will let you target a Symphonic Warrior monster in the grave and special summon it. So you can basically use him to special summon something out. When that leaves the field, you can use him to special summon it back from the grave. So you can use him to turbo out a lot of cards. Alright, so talking about the next what he's going to be searching out. We have Symphonic Warrior Mics. Symphonic Warrior Mics will give you an additional normal summon while it's on the field, allowing you to have 2 normal summons. This deck is really normal summon reliant, so being able to have 2 can be extremely valuable. This card gains a level. So that's sort of them gaining. That does it for the Symphonic Engine. Now, we do run a lot of speedroids in this deck, and that's because of the fact they are machines, they are winds, so they partner up really well with the FA monsters, and that helps us get into our extra deck as well, because we do run a lot of synchro stuff and we also run some links. So the first Speedroid we run has got to be Speedroid Terratop. Speedroid Terratop is so good. Basically, if you don't control the monster, you can special summon this. When this is special summoned, you get to search out a Speedroid monster. Typically, what you're going to be searching out with it, one of your 3 copies of Speedroid Takatomborg. Speedroid Takatomborg is such a good card for this deck. It's just a generic extender. If you control a wind monster, you can special summon it. That effect. Next, we run 2 copies of Speedroid Marble Machine. When this card is normal summoned, you get to add a Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. So again, you're going to be using this to search out your Takatomborg. This effectively allows us to have not 1, but 3 copies of Terratop in the deck. However, it does eat one of your normal summons to use this. That does it for the Speedroids. And finally, we do run one little bit of spicy tech, and that is Hop Ear Squadron. During your opponent's turn, you can quick effect target one face-up monster that you control, special summon this, and then you can synchro summon using this and that monster as material. So this can be extremely useful for us, as it does allow us to get into some of our big synchro monsters on our opponent's turn and give us some interruption capabilities. That does it for the monsters. On to the spells. So the spell lineup is very FA heavy because we need to have the FA monsters gaining levels quickly. First we have 2 copies of FA City Grand Prix. Basically what this does is it makes it so our cards can't be targeted by card effects. Also, it grants 2 additional levels to all FA monsters on our side of the field during the main phase and the battle phase. So our monsters during standby phase, draw phase, and end phase won't actually be 2 levels higher than what they normally are. However, they will be 2 levels higher than what they normally are the rest of the time. So your opponent's going to have to deal with the fact your monsters are going to have 600 extra attack, and the fact that they cannot target them with card effects. Next we have FA Off-Road Grand Prix. Off-Road Grand Prix, again, grants your FA monsters 2 additional levels, but this is only during the main phase. This does have a secondary effect which can be really useful, which is when an FA monster you control is destroyed by battle, you get to make it so your opponent discards a random card from their hand. The only problem with this is that if your opponent uses their entire hand during their main phase, then they're not going to really be utilizing this. You're not going to be able to use this effect. The other thing is, if your monsters need to continue to maintain their level, when they go into the battle phase, you could be in trouble there because you're going to be losing 2 levels, meaning that they could effectively turn off their effects. The final FA field spell that we run is FA Circuit Grand Prix. Now this is a bit of the complete opposite to Off-Road Grand Prix. Basically, this is all about destroying your opponent's stuff by battle. So if you destroy something that your opponent controls by battle while this is on the field, you get to draw a card. It grants 2 additional levels to your FA monsters during the battle phase instead of during the main phase, so it does make your stuff bigger for your opponent to run over next turn. However, it may not grant their effects during your opponent's main phase. So you do have to be careful about which FA field spell you're running, but at the end of the day, they are all quite useful in their own right. Also, one other thing is that all 3 of the FA field spells have the effect that if they are destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to add an FA card from your deck to your hand. So this will allow you to basically recoup the loss of your field spell. So, onto some FA spells that aren't field spells. The first is FA Downforce. This is probably my favorite FA spell. This grants 2 additional levels to any FA monster on your side of the field that you target. So you get to target 1, grant 2 additional levels. In the graveyard, you can banish this to target 1 and grant 2 additional levels. This still counts as an FA spell's effect going off, meaning that your monsters will gain levels when this is activated in grave as well. So you're typically gaining at least 3 levels on whatever you're targeting. Next, we run some FA specific draw power in 2 copies of FA Pit Stop. FA Pit Stop allows us to target an FA monster we control, decrease its level by 2, and draw equal to the number of FA Pit Stops that will be in the grave. So that will allow you to draw 1 card if you don't have any in grave, or 2 cards if you do. The benefit of this is that also it acts as a monster reborn while it is in the grave. You can banish it during your main phase to special summon an FA monster from the graveyard. The final FA spell that we run is 2 copies of FA Test Run. FA Test Run is your spot removal. You activate this, you change the battle position of an FA monster on your side of the field, and then you pop a card on your opponent's side of the field. While in the grave, you can activate this to banish it, pop a card on your side of the field, you get to special summon an FA monster from your deck directly to the field. So this can be really useful if you manage to pop something like one of your field spells, and then you get a search and you get to special summon as well. So that can make this extremely useful going into turn number 3. That does it for our FA spells. Now we do have one other spell we run, and that's just 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Now, Pot of Desires is really good in this deck. You running plenty of 3-ofs, you're not too worried about banishing everything off. The additional draw power can be extremely valuable for this deck because you do need to see some of your extenders as well as be able to extend by allowing yourself some additional normal summons. So seeing some extra cards in your hand to allow you to do that can be really valuable. Alright, so that does it for the spells. On to the traps. We only run 1 trap, and that is FA Dead Heat. We run 3 copies of it. The benefit of this trap is that if your opponent attacks you directly, you can special summon an FA monster directly from the deck. Also, if your opponent battles an FA monster on your side of the field, you and your opponent can roll a 6-sided dice. If you win, your FA monster will gain 3 levels. If you lose, then your monster will be destroyed. So it is a bit of a gamble. It makes me think of Joey Wheeler and his whole roll a dice, flip a coin for everything. Embrace your inner Wheeler and run 3 copies of this. Trust me on that. That does it for the traps. On to the extra deck. The extra deck's really exciting in this. It's mostly synchro based. We do run a few other cards in the deck though that can be really useful. So, the first card we run isn't actually a synchro monster, and that is 3 copies of the FA Link monster, FA Shining GT. This is a powerhouse of a card in this deck. It gains attack equal to the level of all the FA monsters it's pointing to. So because it points down to the right and down to the left, we can actually have it gain the attack of 2 monsters at once. Typically, going first, it's not going to, but later in the game, it will be pointing to multiple monsters with high levels. The other benefit of this is every time you activate a FA spell or trap or monster effect, then he will gain a athlete counter. You can remove an athlete counter on your opponent's side of the field to negate a monster effect. So this acts as your main source of monster negation for the deck. On top of that, it gains a massive amount of attack that it can likely take out pretty much anything your opponent's going to be putting on the board. Now, battle involving this deals no battle damage, so your opponent won't take damage, but you will at least be able to remove big monsters. On to the first FA Synchro monster, the very famous and very popular FA Dawn Dragster. This is a level 7 Synchro monster. It gains attack equal to its level. It gains levels every time a FA spell or trap is activated, and you can decrease its level by 2 to negate a spell or trap that your opponent activates. So this is basically your spell trap removal. FA Shining Star GT is your monster removal. If you can get both on the board in one turn, then you're in really good shape. Next, we run 2 copies of FA Motorhome Transport. This has two effects. If it's level 11 or higher, it can't be destroyed by card effect or battle, so basically it becomes an indestructible fortress. If it's level 13 or higher, you can, once per turn, target an FA monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So it's a continuous monster reborn that this deck can utilize, and it becomes a body that your opponent really has to contend with. Typically, if you've managed to get one of your FAs on the field with level 7, you can use Hop-Eared Squadron on your opponent's turn to go into this, giving you a fully protected board. That does it for the FA monsters we run in the extra deck. Next we run a slew of High Speedroid monsters. The first High Speedroid we run is High Speedroid Puzzle. Now, this isn't typically used, it's a level 4, so typically we're not going into it. However, due to the level manipulation of the FAs, it is definitely possible to get into this. What this does is, if it battles a special summon monster, it doubles its attack, making it up to 2600. Also, if it's been sent to the graveyard, you get to target a Speedroid in the grave and add it back to your hand. Next is High Speedroid Hagoita. High Speedroid Hagoita basically, again, just allows us to do more level manipulation. You contribute this card to have all of your monsters gain an additional level. So if you're close to being able to get a level 7 on the board to activate a FA monster's special ability, High Speedroid Hagoita can help you get there by just tributing itself off. Also, if you do have, say, 2 of your FAs being pointed to by your FA-GT, Hagoita can increase your FA-GT Shining Stars of attack damage by 600 points just by tributing itself. Next, we run one copy of High Speedroid Kendama. Kendama can basically inflict burn damage to your opponent by banishing a machine monster from the graveyard. It can also recur itself if you control no monsters while it's in the grave. The final High Speedroid that we run is High Speedroid Kite Drake. Kite Drake is so good. It's a board wipe, it's a spell monster, everything negate. You get to choose which effect you activate, but it can effectively turn off all of your opponent's cards and really give you a power play. Now, we do run something else that works really well with the Speedroid monsters. However, because we don't run any Speedroid tuners, we can't take full advantage of it. And that is 2 copies of Clearwing Fast Dragon. Clearwing Fast Dragon is the level 7, so we've had a level 4, a level 5, a level 6. This is the level 7, the level 8 is your High Speedroid Kite Drake. What this does is that as a quick effect, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls that was special summoned from the extra deck and negate its effects. You also get to turn its attack points down to 0. So this is effectively a Titanicider on legs, which is really, really good. Now we do run one final level 7 synchro, and it could arguably be better than Clearwing, and that is Cyberse Quantum Dragon. Cyberse Quantum Dragon, basically, if you control a Link monster, forces your opponent to attack it. If your opponent attacks it, you can spin that card back to your opponent's deck. So this does protect your Link monster, meaning that you should be able to keep your Shining GT out on the field. The final monster we run in the extra deck is Gravity Controller. It just helps us out some really awkward monsters that maybe we'll have a hard time with. Typically, you're going to want to send one of your Speedroids to the grave because you can then use that to recur some stuff from the grave, and Gravity Controller will just sit there and be useful for you later. This is an absolute emergency kind of play, though. You don't really want to be using Gravity Controller for this. That does it for the extra deck. So due to the fact that this deck operates on a level manipulation system, we can definitely synchro summon monsters of many different levels. The benefit that we do have is that everything in the deck is primarily machine type, meaning getting into our Link monster is very easy, because all that requires is 2 machines. Now the extension that we get from our Symphonic engine and from our Speedroid engine is absolutely clutch to this fact. On top of all of this, The additional power that we also get from our spells and traps is crucial to being able to turbo out monsters and stop our opponents from being able to do the things that they would like to do. And on top of that, our extra deck being able to negate monsters and negate spells and become indestructible can really give us the power that required to best utilize the FA engine in a way that does effectively allow us to go first or second. At the end of the day, this deck isn't super competitive. It's more of a fun deck. It's more of a casual deck. It's a lot of fun, and I am looking forward to updating this for you guys in the future because there's some really exciting stuff coming out in Phantom Rage for this deck specifically. That all being said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Do remember, leave us a like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the team's Facebook page, links down in the description below. And also, don't forget to vote for the decks you would like to see. This is one of them in the upcoming in-house tournament later this month. That being said, I will see you guys at the next video.